The dinner guest. I was 11 when my family moved to the quiet, almost hush-hush corner of Sontar Fair. On Halloween night, my friends Matteo and Asher and I were out, hitting porch after porch until our bags were dragging. By 9 p.m. the streets were quiet as we ducked into the park to sort through our haul. Bro, the one with the full-size Snickers is king, Matteo grinned. He ain't king. Until we hit every house, I countered, nodding toward the isolated house across the park. It sat alone, dark and devoid of any festive decorations, its porch looking like it hadn't seen a visitor in years. Asher shuddered. Fred lives there. Nobody goes there. Why not? Matteo leaned in, lowering his voice. Fred's wife vanished a year back. Most folks think he buried her. Susie was stunning, way out of Fred's league. He was consumed by jealousy, always accusing her of cheating. Then one night, he did something horrible to her, and she was never seen again. What did he do? Townspeople say Fred went full crazy and took an axe to her, split her clean in half. Neighbors saw blood smeared on the windows and called the police, but when they searched the place top to bottom, they couldn't find anything, Asher added. Fred swore she ran off. But everyone knows Fred did it. That's why no one talks to him. I scoffed. That's BS if the cops searched and found nothing. It's just a made-up spook story. I'm serious, Asher insisted. Okay, fine. If you really believe that, let's go trick or treat at his house. I stood up and started walking. Come on, don't be babies, up close. The house was worse. The paint was flaking, the shutters dangled like broken limbs, and the smell was coming from somewhere. A sickly sweet, rotten odor. I jabbed the doorbell before my nerves failed me. A few seconds later, Fred appeared. He was a very tall man with a strong build, long hair, and a creep. Why stare? Most terrifyingly, he was holding a rusted axe. Trick or treat, I fumbled, holding up my bag. He smiled slowly, then said in a deep voice, "Oh, of course. Let me get you something, SP. Eshel." He turned and vanished inside, leaving the door half open. We waited. The porch light buzzed. Fred was taking a suspiciously long time. "What's he doing in there?" Matteo whispered. Before I could answer, we heard Fred's low, muffled voice. He was talking to someone, but there wasn't supposed to be anyone else in that house, right? Asher crept closer to the door and peered inside. His face went paper white. "Guys, you need to see this." We crowded around. We could see a portion of a dining room with lit candles and set plates on a table. Fred came back a minute later, carrying 3 king-sized, expensive chocolate bars. "Here you go, boys. Enjoy." "Thanks," we mumbled, but Matteo couldn't help himself. "Are you having a party or something? We saw your table." Fred's smile got wider. "Oh, that's for Susie and me. We're having a special dinner tonight." My stomach dropped. "Susie?" "Yes, she's been waiting for me to start eating. Very patient woman." Fred chuckled. "Would you boys like to meet her?" He pulled the door wide open. Sitting at the far end of the table was a woman. She was wearing a fancy dress and had makeup caked on so thick it looked like a ski mask. But instead of eyes, there were just empty sockets filled with something dark and wriggling. The sockets were full of maggots. Her skin was grey and stretched to tight over her bones. Her mouth was sewn shut with thick, black thread. But the worst part was the smell, sweet and rotten like fruit left out in the sun for weeks. "Isn't she beautiful?" Fred cooed. "Just as gorgeous as the day I married her. She never ages, never complains, never tries to leave me for other men." We screamed, bolting faster than we'd ever run. We never told anyone what we saw. Who would believe us? I threw away that chocolate bar without even opening it. He'd done it before. He'd do it again. The shape in the street. I promised my parents I'd take my little sister, Patricia, trick-or-treating. Patricia was 5, dressed as a sparkly pink fairy. I threw on an old pirate outfit. The street was packed, and Patricia was having the time of her life. Suddenly, my eyes landed on a street light 4 houses down. There was a tall guy dressed exactly like Michael Myers from those horror movies, standing under it. His costume was perfect. He stood like a mountain, gazing at the rest of us. "Brian, look," Patricia tugged Ed on my sleeve, holding up a full-size Snickers. "That's great, Patty," I said. But my attention was on the man, who was still glaring at us over the next 6 houses. My stomach twisted into knots. The man was still there, always the same, distance behind us. He hadn't said a word, hadn't waved, hadn't moved toward any of the houses. He just stood in that horrible mask, watching. "Geez, through those empty eye holes. Come on, Patty," I said, taking her hand. "Let's head back home." But we just started. She whined. As we turned, I heard footsteps behind us, mimicking ours. I glanced back to find the man trailing after us. "Patty, we need to walk a little faster." I picked up the pace, pulling her along. Behind us, the footsteps got faster, too. This wasn't my imagination. This guy was definitely following us. We were 3 blocks from home when the footsteps sped up even more. I turned and saw the man sprinting, something metallic glinting in his right hand. My eyes widened. He was holding a huge butcher knife that looked just like the one from the movies. "Run," I whispered to Patricia. "Run." I grabbed her hand and we bolted. Behind us, heavy boots pounded against the pavement, getting closer with each step. Patricia's fairy wings were slowing her down. "Brian, I can't run this fast." The footsteps were right behind us now. I could hear his labored breathing through the mask. Just then, Patricia tripped and went down hard. She started screaming, not just from pain, but from terror. She had seen the knife. Oh. I didn't blink, just scooped her up in my arms and kept running. The man was so close I could hear the knife cut in the air as he swung it. Finally, our house. I fumbled with the door handle, my hand shaking. When the door opened, I shoved Patricia inside, slamming it shut and turning every lock. "What happened?" Dad rushed over. "There was a man," I gasped. "He was following us, and and he had a knife." Dad grabbed his baseball bat and headed for the door. "Call the police," he told Mom. The cops showed up 20 minutes later. They searched, but found nothing. They suggested it was probably just someone's costume that scared us. But the next morning, Dad found deep stabbing marks all over his mailbox. Those were fresh cuts that definitely weren't there before Halloween night. We moved the next year. Dad said it was for a joke, but I knew the real reason. Every time we drove past our old house, those knife marks were still there, reminding everyone that monsters met times wear masks and walk among us on Halloween night. The bride on the swing. I was grounded on Halloween night when I was 10 for forgetting to take out the trash for 3 straight weeks. No costume, no candy, no leaving the house. So, I sat by my window, listening to the groups of kids laughing. By 10 p.m., the house was quiet. That's when I made the stupidest decision of my life. I grabbed my vampire costume, found an old pillowcase, and snuck out through the back door. I managed to collect a decent amount of candy. Heading back home, I decided to take a shortcut through Willow Park. It was an old playground that felt like a graveyard at night, with rusted swings creaking in the wind. That's where I saw her. She was sitting on one of the swings, rocking slowly, wearing a torn and dirty wedding dress. Her long black hair hung over her face, and she was humming under her breath. It sounded like a nursery rhyme, sung intentionally off-key. Ring around the rosy ... pocket full of POS ... ashes. ASA cheese, we all fall down ... The way she sang it made my skin crawl. Every instinct told me to get out. But I was 10, stupid, and curious. Suddenly, The swing stopped moving. It halted like someone had grabbed the chains, defying gravity. Slowly, the woman lifted her head. I'll never forget her face. Her skin was pale and mottled like old meat, but it was her eyes that made me want to scream. She smiled really big. "Come here, little boy. Come play with Sarah. Sarah's been so lonely." I couldn't move. My legs air concrete. She started to stand up, and that's when I saw the rest of her. The wedding dress was stained crimson, and there was a rope burn around her neck like someone had tried to hang her. I said, "See, I'm here," she hissed, the evident fury cracking the air. That broke the spell. I sprinted faster than I'd ever run, hearing her giggles right by my ears. I made it home in record time. I changed out of my costume and got into bed, pulling the covers over my head. Maybe I'd imagined it, but the singing ... I was hearing the singing again. Ring around the rosy ... pocket full of POS ... I peek D over my blanket and nearly wet myself. She was there, pressed against the window, staring at me with those horrible eyes. Her face was squished against the glass, her black hair spread out like spider legs. "Ashes, ashes, we all fall down," she sang, grinning, looking me straight in the eye. I tried to scream, but no sound would come out. I lay there, trembling while her fingernails scraped against the glass for what felt like hours. The worst part was that my bedroom was on the second floor. There was no tree outside, nothing that could explain a climb. Exhaustion lie took over. The next thing I knew, sunlight was streaming through my window. I thought it had all been a nightmare, then I saw it. Stuck in the corner of my window frame was a piece of dirty white fabric. When I opened the window to look closer, I realized it was a piece of wedding veil, old and yellowed with dark stains that looked suspiciously like dried blood. I never told my parents. I later found out from a friend's older brother that a woman named Sarah Mitchell had killed herself in Willow Park 10 years ago. They found her hanging from the swing set, still wearing her wedding dress. She'd been dead 4 days. I never took that shortcut through the park again. To this day, I drive the long way around just to avoid those swings.